In 1981, Laura Kempton, age 23, resided in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. She was a beauty school student and worked at the Marco Polo gift store and Curran's ice cream parlor. Laura was known for her outgoing and vivacious personality, making her a well-liked figure in her community. On the early morning of September 28, 1981, Laura was seen for the last time entering her apartment on Chapel Street alone. Later that day, a police officer, while serving a court summons for unpaid parking tickets, discovered a tragic scene. He noticed a missing panel in her apartment's front door and, through the gap, saw Laura's body on the floor inside. The subsequent autopsy revealed that Laura had suffered severe head trauma soon after she entered her apartment. She had multiple skull fractures, along with brain lacerations and contusions. Signs of assault were also evident, allowing for the collection of DNA evidence. Investigators scoured the crime scene for additional evidence and interviewed other residents in her building, but unfortunately, no significant leads were uncovered, and the case eventually grew cold. In 1986, law enforcement officials interrogated Ronald Spock concerning the murder of Laura Kempton. Spock, known for his crimes in Boston, Massachusetts, where he took the lives of 2 women, denied any involvement in Laura's case. Although Spock came from a New Hampshire city not far from Portsmouth, there was no concrete evidence linking him to Laura's slaying. Spock had previously admitted to the killings of Gina Quare and Kathleen McGuire in Boston, claiming self-defense as both victims allegedly threatened him with a knife over payment issues. He strangled both women and left their bodies in separate locations. Gina in an abandoned railway car in South Boston, and Kathleen near a tourist information booth on Interstate 95 in Kittery, Maine. However, no substantial connection to Laura's murder was established. In a separate development in 1998, 2 Portsmouth detectives, while attending a conference in Florida, were drawn to a case presented by the Naval Investigative Service. It involved Dana Kittler, who was assaulted and strangled in her Mayport, Florida home in 1990. The crime scene indicated a fierce struggle, with Dana's long, dark hair found scattered throughout the house, a significant amount of which was cut and left in her bathtub. Dana Kittler, whose husband was a deployed naval officer, was a victim in a case that struck Portsmouth Police Captain James Tucker due to its striking similarity to the New Hampshire case involving Michael Leond. Intriguingly, John Brewer had been apprehended in connection with Dana's case, but was released soon after due to inadequate evidence. However, new developments in Michelle Leon's case in Derry, New Hampshire, led to Brewer's rearrest. A critical connection between Brewer and Michelle Leon was established by the Portsmouth investigators. Captain Tucker discovered a job application Brewer had submitted, listing Michelle's husband, Gary, as a reference. This link was further solidified when DNA from hairs in the Kittler case matched DNA from the Leon case, resulting in Brewer being charged for both crimes. This indictment gained widespread attention, with reports suggesting Brewer's involvement in 3 additional cases, 2 in Portsmouth and 1 in Florida. Although Brewer resided in New Hampshire when Laura Kempton was tragically killed, the difference in his known methods suggested no direct link to her case. It seemed the initial assumption of his involvement might have been influenced by the fact that the detectives responsible for his apprehension were based in Portsmouth. In the small coastal town, rumors suggested that Laura Kempton's tragic fate was linked to a pair of young men known for violent drug activities. These men had minor offenses on record and were associated with Thomas Farguy, a Portsmouth local whose criminal activities had become increasingly severe. Farguy, who had a history of assaulting women, was indicted in March 1982 for the murder of 24-year-old Valerie Blair in Rye, a neighboring town. Blair was discovered in a barn state park, shot 5 times in the head and face with a .22 caliber pistol. Despite being imprisoned for years, Farguy consistently claimed innocence, attributing Blair's death to a colleague who allegedly stole his firearm. He also suspected this individual was involved in Laura's death. According to Farguy, Laura was a customer involved in a transaction when this associate saw her kissing someone in her apartment, leading to a conflict. Notably, Farguy's girlfriend at the time was also a student at the same beauty school as Laura. Although Farguy's DNA was taken, he wasn't charged with additional crimes, and the man he accused was investigated but cleared by police. A breakthrough in the case came on July 20, 2020, after 42 years. Investigators announced they had solved Laura's case, identifying the perpetrator as Ronnie James Lee, who was 21 at the time of the crime and had lived and worked in Portsmouth. Rachel Harrington, the Assistant Attorney General, stated that there were no known connections between Ronnie James Lee and Laura Kempton. Lee's military service in the U.S. Army concluded on May 15, 1981, after which he worked at Liberty Mutual in Portsmouth for MBI Security from June 1981 to August 1982. Lee, using his mother's Rock Hill Avenue address in Portsmouth, was arrested on November 8, 1982 for attempted theft. His criminal record includes links to 4 house burglaries and 1 business break-in in 1983, with guilty pleas entered for 2 burglaries in 1987. In a separate incident in Keene, New Hampshire, Lee was found guilty of burglary and assault on a woman in the burgled home. He served a prison sentence from December 15, 1987 until July 1990. Lee passed away on February 9, 2005 at 45 years old due to an overdose. If Lee were still alive, he would face severe charges for the murder of Laura Kempton, including during an aggravated assault or for using a blunt object, believed to be a wine bottle, in the attack. Investigators identified Lee as the perpetrator using advanced genetic genealogy methods. Forensic analysis of evidence from the 1981 crime scene revealed a male DNA profile. Starting in 2022, the Portsmouth Police collaborated with New Hampshire and Maine State Police Forensic Labs, the Attorney General's Cold Case Unit, and Identifiers International, a genetic genealogy firm, to match the DNA from the crime scene to Lee. With Ronnie James Lee no longer alive, Laura Kempton's case has been officially closed and resolved. In response, Laura's family issued a heartfelt statement. "We, the Kempton family, are profoundly thankful to the Portsmouth Police Department for their unwavering effort in resolving Laura's case. Their relentless dedication and exceptional commitment over many years have culminated in this significant development. We want to particularly recognize retired Captain John Parrish and the investigative team of the Portsmouth Police Department, both past and present, for their tireless work on this case. Their remarkable endeavors have brought us to this pivotal day. Countless individuals have been involved with Laura's case over the last 41 years, and we extend our sincerest thanks to everyone who played a role. At this moment, as we absorb this news, we ask for privacy. Our heartfelt thanks go to everyone involved. There has been speculation about a possible connection between Laura's case and the unsolved case of Tammy Little, another Portsmouth tragedy from 1982. In light of recent developments, Attorney General John Formella commented on Tammy's case, noting that it is still an active investigation. Formella stated, "We continue to investigate the Little case. We are hopeful that the breakthrough in Laura's case might also shed new light on Tammy's case." On October 19, 1,982. Concerns grew as no one had heard from 20-year-old Tammy Little for several days. The Portsmouth Beauty School student was known to be sociable, and it was unusual for her to be out of touch for so long. Her friends last saw her when they dropped her off at her home after a weekend night out. Alarmed by her daughter's uncharacteristic silence, Tammy's mother decided to check on her at her Maplewood Avenue apartment. Tragically, she discovered Tammy's lifeless body, showing signs of a brutal beating. The shocking scene at 315 Maplewood Avenue prompted a swift response from the authorities. Investigators gathered evidence from Tammy's apartment and spoke to neighbors in the vicinity. An autopsy conducted the next day confirmed that Tammy had died from severe head injuries, the result of a violent attack. The city was engulfed in sorrow and fear as Tammy's friends and family mourned her tragic loss, and the community was cloaked in anxiety. The parallels between the deaths of Tammy Little and Laura Kempton were unnervingly clear. Both young women, who lived alone in ground-floor apartments, were students at the Portsmouth Beauty School. They shared aspirations of modeling and were regulars at several downtown bars. Their lives were tragically cut short in the early hours of weekend mornings in the autumn, and they lived only a mile apart. The investigation continues, with hopes that DNA evidence will soon determine if Ronnie James Lee was also involved in the tragic fate of Tammy Little.